Last night, I raised issues in relation to the Perrottet government and its extraordinary and reckless economic management. I mentioned that last week the half-yearly budget review revealed the New South Wales government deficit would balloon from $2.8 billion to $6.5 billion, even though, quote, soaring coal royalties, the coal that Keane and Perrottet and their left-wing mates hate, coal royalties delivered an $11.1 billion improvement in revenues, all spent. Expenses grew by over $13 billion. Far from boasting about economic management, everywhere you turn there are major problems, the solution to which apparently, to win an election, is to throw around and promise more borrowed money. I mentioned that Premier Perrottet is on record as saying that New South Wales has Australia's fastest growing economy. Nothing could be further from the truth. And it's not surprising when the principal component of economic management in New South Wales is to spend money. The only valid measure of economic strength is gross state product per capita. In other words, per head of population, how much are we producing? On the most recent figures, New South Wales is second last. Dominic Perrottet, advised by the bloke Finkelstein, who presided over the Morrison catastrophe, says that it's important that the coalition win this election. And it seems that money is no problem. 4 new metro lines in Western Sydney will be started under a re-elected coalition government. Now, that proposal has validity, but it'll be paid for by debt. Or is that why we have 40-kilometre-per-hour speed limits on some of Sydney's busiest roads? A gold mine for the government. One single camera alone at St Peters on the 6-lane Princes Highway has gathered $4.7 million in 18 months. The opposition says drivers who've been stung by a draconian 30-kilometre-per-hour limit imposed in Liverpool should be refunded. But the government seems to think that raising revenue in any way, shape or form will help pay some bills, and there are plenty of them. The Spanish-led consortium building new passenger trains for New South Wales is claiming more than $730 million. Why? Well, we've just come out of that train strike, and to solve it, the government agreed to design changes to carriages and driver cabins. So the cost of the new fleet of trains will blow out by more than $1 billion. Is this economic management we're talking about? Last August, an analysis by Transport for New South Wales forecast the cost of foreign-made trains would surge by almost $827 million to $2.29 billion, and that excluded the cost of settling disputes. But don't worry about cost. The Perrottet government's throwing $160 million of borrowed money in a spending spree, bolstering Western Sydney's performing arts scene. No one is more supportive of the performing arts than I am. But where the hell is this money coming from? Western Sydney deserve better arts venues, but we don't have appropriate economic management to pay for them. Western Sydney needs more police. The Police Association say staffing levels in Western Sydney are a recipe for disaster. Some suburbs have been the backdrop of bloody gangland wars, yet those suburbs have some of the worst response times in the state. It's one thing to say, elect us again, the state needs us, but the record on so many fronts is woeful. Matt Keane, the Treasurer and Energy Minister, 2 portfolios that almost contradict themselves, is gung-ho about electric vehicles, saying they'll make up to 50% of new car sales by 2030. That is absolute rubbish. And he says he'll build 30,000 new charging stations. What's more, he's offering $3,000 rebates for the first 25,000 new battery, electric and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Can someone tell me what we do with the batteries when they have to be replaced? 500 kgs each? This is the new religion. But these nincompoops believe this stuff leads to a better environment. What, do you dig holes in the ground to dispose of 2.5 million tonnes of battery waste every year? I suggest that Matt Keane has no idea what he's talking about, but he sounds like Chris Bowen. Fewer than 0.5% of the cars in the United States are battery electric. Keane says electric vehicles will make up 50% of new car sales by 2030, 50%. Most scientific studies show that electric cars will increase in sales, but they'll not take over the world, and by 2030, about 13% of the new cars in the world will be battery electric.